Relationships are a lot like algebra if you consider the variables. Have you ever looked at your ex and wondered why? Because I used to think that question a lot when I used to think that people weren't worth the pain. The reason why I say this is because from a very young age, I used to move on average about 3 times per year between Korea, China, and Japan. So this made me feel like I was in a constant whirlwind of moving to new locations, always meeting new people. So the impact this had on me was twofold. Number one, it made me feel like relationships were meaningless because they were constantly being made and broken very easily. And number two, it made me feel like I was constantly being respawned to a starting line each time with new obstacles ahead. As I moved to different countries, it felt like there was always new challenges I had to overcome. But the reason why I think that challenges are what makes life interesting, but and overcoming these challenges makes life even more meaningful is because of two reasons. Number one, I believe it makes it allows for an individual to understand the world more deeply, and number two, it increases happiness overall. Let me break this down. Number one, understanding the world more deeply. Previously, I mentioned to you how moving to me felt like constantly being respawned to a starting line with new obstacles ahead. But this meant like when I changed my perspective, giving a chance for me to understand the world around me more deeply as I was interacting with people that I wouldn't have otherwise. For example, when I went to China, I was eating a skewer and talking to the person I'm selling these skewers, and he gave me his life story about how he started the skewer business because of his wife's death, as she used to love skewers when she before she passed away, or talking to my friend in public school who expresses how her family overcame poverty, or just other things, listening into the life stories of individuals that I wouldn't have interacted with otherwise. I think these stories that I wouldn't have been exposed to open new perspectives into the world that I'd yet to explore, and every individual I interacted with became a distinct chapter in my narrative, providing me with a more nuanced understanding of the complexities of the world around me. So this broadened my view. But number two, the reason why I say it increases happiness is because in a Korean household, it's a cultural thing where you have societal expectations on you to go to a very specific path, reach a very certain school, and then follow a very specific career path afterwards. And it's like your life is mapped out in front of you. But being constantly respond here and there in new places that are very foreign to me, this map that was given to everyone else did not exist for me. So I always had to break up and make my own paths so that I could see what my definition of success is. But being forced out of this typical cycle of what success looks like to me, I was able to create my own paths. And by creating my own paths, instead of like trying to reach a very specific spot, which I deemed was unreasonable to reach, I started focusing on what my values were. So whatever choice I made in whatever location I was, I focused on the one thing that would never change, which was the values that I held. So by holding these values and focusing on what really mattered to me and not other people, I think being in new environments and always being challenged with new things really made my life interesting. And overall, because I was able to overcome each of these challenges in these distinct locations through my interest and through my ways, I think it's what elevated my life and made it much more meaningful. So when I look back to my past, I talked about this with my teacher the other day, how I felt like, well, I was really behind because everybody had this very specific path that they were stepping on. They really knew what they wanted to do in the future. I actually felt more confident about myself after this conversation with the teacher because he really taught me that by being able to face these challenges now, even though it feels like it seems unfair, it seems like everyone else has it easy, you're actually facing the challenges that everyone has to face anyways. Everyone's gonna have to figure out who they are. Everyone's gonna have to earn the skill of maneuvering their own life, and everyone's gonna have to learn the very important lesson of learning how to keep themselves happy in this long and open life. So I wouldn't change anything for a thing. And even when I look back into my relationships and look at my exes, I definitely don't wonder why anymore. And that's why I think challenges make life interesting and overcoming it made life much more meaningful for me. Thank you.